Hello everyone, my name is Moonshine and I'm the host of today's AMA with Rainfall. And Rainfall is trying to explore the future of data-powered Web3. It lets users earn real value from their data privately, securely, and on their own terms. So through today's AMA, we're going to get more insight on how the team plans to achieve this, as well as the real-world use cases of the project. So we have AMIT here with us, who is the founder and CEO of Rainfall. So with that, Amit, would you kindly introduce yourself and the team behind Rainfall?
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the community for tuning in. So just quick background, my name is Amit Pradhan. I've been involved in the world of AI now for about 27 years. My wonderful co-founding team has, about equal amount of experience in a combination of AI and Silicon Valley primarily. So it's a team with a lot of experience being able to deliver on big vision projects, which obviously Rainfall is. Rainfall came from an interesting journey. Rajesh, who is CTO and co-founder of Rainfall, he and I founded Zero, which is the world's first privacy-focused AI research lab 20 years ago. This was before neither AI was cool nor privacy was cool. And we truly believe that, the future of AI, if it has to be done in a responsible way, then privacy would have to be one of those factors that we absolutely considered, because AI, as many of you would know, is a big data game. And the more data you have, the more you can not only train these AI models, you can keep them relevant and consistent and keep them from stopping to be accurate. And so you need a lot of data. And the world of data, as all of you know, has been us giving our data basically for free to the convenience that big tech gives us, right? And in the AI world, obviously that's happening at scale. And the philosophical question that we were looking to answer was, if I asked all of you here on this call, who owns you in your physical world? The answer is no one, right? We're self-sovereign individuals and we're not owned by anyone. But in the AI world, because our data is training, all of these models, we are effectively owned by a handful of companies and their AI models. And so we set about on this path, both with this idea of privacy and decentralization. I co-founded the Silicon Valley Blockchain Society 10 years ago. And so we were, kind of pioneering a lot of the work that was happening in the decentralized space. And one of our core missions was, how do we make sure that, everyone who is connected, and then eventually, we have a responsibility to connect people who are not connected, but how do we give people their own AI? How do we give them AI that represents them, but is also owned by them? And that's where self-sovereign AI as a category comes into play. And so the work and the journey that we've been on with the background work towards Rainfall and then the creation of Rainfall has been this core vision. How do we create a sustainable personal self-sovereign AI model for every individual so that they can control, their identity and their presence in this, digital world. They have agency and control over what happens with their data. And then most importantly, whenever value is created from, their AI model, that the economic benefit of that value goes back to them. So in a nutshell, that is the Rainfall platform, the world's first personal self-sovereign AI platform that allows people to take control and agency over their data and their AI model, and from that create a daily income from the intelligence that their AI model generates. That AI model is what we call the Aura, AURA, and the idea is that everyone will have their own Aura. The Aura has its own wallet and provenance baked in. And so people have control an agency, thereby making it truly self-sovereign.
Appreciate that intro into what the project is all about, and being giving us details on what you guys are actually planning to do. So my first question is about the data, which is I see from your website that you guys want to unlock economic value from user data and still preserve privacy, which is something users want to see. But what exact data is being used in this process, and what prevents it from becoming a traditional data mining?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll answer it in the same order that you asked. So at the core, what's unique about the rainfall model is that instead of your data leaving your device and going to either centralized or decentralized servers that train models, the unique AI of Rainfall comes to your device. So whenever you download the Rainfall app directly or you download it through partners, you get the AI on your device and you can connect your data sources within both with consent as well as within the realm of what is allowed with the App Store and the Play Store. And so we say there's always three parts. The first part is, having the AI in your control and then starting to give it access to your data events. The second is to always make sure that it is by consent. So any services, any data sources that you choose to connect to your Aura so that your Aura becomes a richer, more relevant version of you, that you can connect that. And the third is we what we call nurturing your Aura. So you can always kind of add context, add instructions, add value to your Aura. So very simple example, you can give access, for example, in data events to photos that you might take. What's unique about the rainfall model is that photo, that data will never leave your device. Rainfall has no servers. And that's what, to the second part of your question, it ensures that, we can't change our minds. We can't violate. We can't, have someone hack the system and then get access to the raw data because we don't have the raw data at all. And so we're future proofing, 5 levels, 6 levels ahead. But at the same time, your aura is getting richer by, perhaps a photo that you might have taken. But you can now nurture the aura even further, where you could actually go in and say, this photo I took is with a community of users interested in Web3, and we should connect again post TGE, for example, or let's connect to help amplify and get rewards to these users. That nurturing, that context that I add, adds to the knowledge within the aura. So you always have the ability to both dynamically, statically, and through interactions with data events, you can effectively create a more powerful, more relevant, more nurtured aura.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. And I think that gives insights to how you guys are ensuring that the platform is secured for users. So the next question I want to ask is, Rainfall uses Edge AI, right? So what
Mhm.
computations happen on device versus on the network, and why is this distinction crucial for users?
Yeah, very good. So the AI model the AI that allows for the aura to be created all happens on the edge, right? So as I mentioned earlier, therefore your data can remain on your device, whatever your device might be. When the auras are created, they live in a trusted execution environment. We call it the Rainfall Vault, but it's a decentralized network. It's a disassembled model that lives there, owned by the user. And these auras have the ability to not just, live in these decentralized networks, but they can also talk to each other while preserving privacy, while protecting identity. And together they're able to create what we call real-time social intelligence. This is intelligence that emanates from the from the story of people's lives, but in real time. So what is relevant, and I'll take a quick example because it'll help with explaining the network as well. So imagine, when you go out and you pay for a coffee. Now, of course, in parts of the world where many of you are, you can pay with Apple Pay or Google Pay. But what is learned in that transaction is that you spend, I'll use dollars here, but of course you can imagine your own currency. But you spend $5 on coffee, which is fine. What is not learned is that you're there with a friend who you normally then go to the gym with afterwards, and then you go and get a protein smoothie after the workout. And that additional intelligence without revealing any personally identifiable information. Who is that friend? What is their number? Things like that would never get revealed. They're not in the AI model anyways. And now there's deeper intelligence available so that maybe the coffee place can offer you a discount. Maybe the new protein place can attract you there. Maybe there's value to be got from, your gym visit. And that gets algorithmically priced by our network. And so it might say, okay, this is worth 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents to the business. And they pay in the token. So the token is the raindrop, the RDP, and they pay in the RDP. And then what we do is automatically and algorithmically, 85% of that value goes back to the Aura's wallet. It could be one, it could be many, that help create that intelligence. And so this is our mechanism of making sure that the primary value from people's intelligence goes back to the people and not to one company. So it's the future of fair data value, as well as doing it in this next iteration of data, which is obviously AI.
Nice. I think when you were trying to explain, you mentioned something like real time social intelligence. So, what does this actually produce and who pays for it in the ecosystem?
So, going back to this example I just mentioned, the knowledge that you're going to have coffee in the next hour and that you're going to go to the gym right after and then get a protein smoothie at 4 p.m. That's all real time, right? That's real time knowledge. That's not knowledge of like, oh, you did that last week, so maybe you'll do that again, right? Like this is the aura saying, look, this is what's likely to happen within the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes now. And so it's intelligence. The reason we call it, well, real time because it happens in, when it's relevant, right? But the reason we call it social intelligence is that we're social people, right? And so everything we do is in the context of our lives. And so instead of market intelligence, which is historic snapshots in time, or business intelligence, which is based upon the intelligence that businesses are getting in their systems, this is the story of our lives playing out in real time so that we can get hyper personalized value that is relevant to us, and all the while shifting away from this old paradigm, which is, hey, if I give you value, if I give you convenience, you're the product, right? And in turn, I'm going to get all of your data and you're going to lose all of your privacy. But oh, look, you got a free product, right? And we're just saying, no, that's not the way going forward. We are not the product. We are the value drivers. Data is a fundamental human right. And each of us should not only therefore have recognition of our data as a right, but control over it and economic value that comes from it, right? And that's the whole principle and basis of Rainfall.
Yeah, thank you so much for explaining that. So now let's move over to the token. So what is the native token real utility within the Rainfall's architecture beyond, speculative trading and all of that?
Yeah, so actually, our token design takes away entirely from this principle of speculative trading, right? Um, Businesses, as I was describing in the flow earlier, whether it's AI systems, AI engines, business intelligence systems, they pay for the intelligence in the system with the token. So the token is genuinely the the mechanism for the intelligence in the system and the economics to move through. And so it businesses buy the token to buy the intelligence. That token transfers to the wallets of the auras that help create the intelligence. And then, post TGE, people can obviously get um, their convert those tokens to whatever they wish to convert to in their local requirement. And so the token is what we call a demand-sided token. It is its life begins because businesses need that token to pay for the intelligence, as opposed to every project you have seen in your life, which is a supply-based system, right? Look, there's a billion tokens, there's 10 billion tokens. And if you consider where the value comes from, well, the value comes from speculation, right? So if the markets are good, token will do well. If markets are bad, token is dead, right? And we see this all the time. And so a big part of what we're doing is to solve for that, so that the primary demand of the token will always be from the business of the platform, and then investor sentiment adds on top of that. But once you have a good foundational model for the value of your token, then sentiment tends to be more positive than negative, right? So that's the core mechanism of the token, but also the unique economics of how it's built.
Thanks so much for walking us through that. So, the next question I have is, how does the Rainfall ensure that the token incentives align with long-term data quality and not just short-term exploitations?
Yeah, so the token is not, like I just explained, is not inherently just a speculative token, right? The token represents the intelligence and the value in the system. So the more intelligence and more value there is, the more there is token demand, and therefore there is more need for supply, and then the token economics come into play. Um, but at the core, because it's not like people are saying, here, let me send you some data, and then you don't know what the authenticity of the data is or the value of the data, right? You see this a lot with data marketplaces, like, okay, great, well, there's a lot of data, but what is its worth, right? Um, the difference in this is each one has their own aura. It's theirs, it's personal, it's built on the data events of their life. And so there's very little question of like fake data, right? Because then it's not the data events of your life. It will not reflect the who you are, which means you won't get the value from it, you won't get the convenience. And one of the things that is really important to understand in our system is the core capability of the aura. So the aura does three things. One is it acts as your primary assistant, right? So it can coordinate other assistants. Of course, you can use agentic frameworks, you can use Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever. But now you have something that is you, that represents you. And so you have someone coordinating for you. The second function it does, which is a really important function, is it acts as a guardian. So today, if we were to, take a photo, Moonshine, of like you playing football, you can upload that photo to ChatGPT and say, hey, I need a profile photo for my AMAs. Get me a nice formal looking photo, preferably me in a suit, right? And or a beautiful dress. And then of course you'll get four nice photos looking like you. Perfect. The problem is that you have lost all of the metadata in that photo, where it was taken, when it was taken, um, what phone you took it with, all of these details, which, from a privacy perspective are gone, right? And then after that, where is that photo? Where is it being used? There's just no controls in place. And so when you do it through your Aura, it will still use your favorite GPT or Genesis or whatever, but it will protect your photo before it sends it out. So it strips it of the metadata. It puts a provenance tag so that the value always comes back to you. It also puts a digital footprint so you know when it's being used. And then the third function, which actually is a really cool function, when I tell you now, you'd be like, oh, wow, yeah, I'd want that in my life. Because it has the knowledge of your life. I could go to my Aura and say, when did I last chat with Moonshine, and what was the synopsis of what we talked about? Right? And the number of times all of us go, when did I meet Amit last? And suddenly now you have insights and you have your own oracle because it can provide insights. And then you can get, we've got premium versions which get very sophisticated where you can talk about, like, just tell me my highlights for the week and the things that I absolutely need to focus on for next week, right? And now you suddenly have like this deep oracle-like insights, but of your life. So there's a lot of power in what that aura is for each individual. And at the end of the day, because it's yours, because it's authentic, you don't get into issues of, oh, yeah, I just grabbed data from somewhere and threw it into a repository, right? Because that's just not the model.
I really appreciate how you use examples to drive home the point. I think it makes it easier for the audience to also understand what your project is really trying to build, especially coming from the aspect of privacy. Because when you try to handle data and it involves, the data of investors, they definitely always want to be careful about it. So thank you so much for, the detailed explanation. And just before we move over to another aspect of questions, I just wanted to ask, does token ownership confer governance rights? Are you guys, is your project DAO oriented, or for now you are just keeping it simple?
It's both things. We're keeping it simple, yet at the same time, the governance is designed to be transparent. So the operating entities and the contracts that run the economics have almost like a constitutional agreement on how the economics work, how the system runs, and changes require voting and approval within the system by people who are most affected in that geography, for example. And that way it becomes this idea of a living, breathing governance model rather than an opaque, closed governance model. But at this stage, we're still keeping it simple. We're not doing it with a DAO structure, but that doesn't mean that we might not find that that is the best vehicle in the future. For now, it's just complete transparency, full privacy, full control of your data, full ownership of your aura, and real-time social value to the businesses who can benefit from people's auras, and in turn provide income and value back to the people, because like I said multiple times, we believe that data is a fundamental human right and each person should have full control and agency over their data.
Nice. Thank you so much for walking us through that as well. So let's move over to still talking about security and privacy. So I just want to know, what if a user who has been using your platform suddenly wants to revoke all their shared inside history? Can the system erase derivative intel tied to these users?
Simple answer is yes. The full control is with the user. They can do multiple things. They can disable data access. They can stop nurturing their aura. That means it'll stop at wherever it's at. But if they want to turn off the aura, because after all, it's their aura, they can absolutely turn it off. And in which case that aura will cease to exist. If they want to start again, they can start again. If they want to merely turn it off and say, I don't want my aura providing intelligence to the outside world. I just want it to be my oracle. And I understand that that means I will not earn a share of the income from intelligence being sold because my aura will not contribute to it. Absolutely no problem. In fact, that right exists for people at any given time. So if you want to use your aura as your hyper personalized assistant, as your guardian and your oracle, and you don't want to use it in the network services, that is absolutely okay as well. You just want to earn an income, right? But that's okay too. That's what choice is. People get to choose that.
Okay, nice. I really appreciate that answer too. It goes a long way to show that you also have the interest of your users at heart. So, how do you guys handle compliance with privacy laws like, GDPR or CCPA when operating globally?
Mhm. Um, we go, we think that the current, um, whether it's the GDPR or the new AI privacy laws or, the California privacy laws, any of these, we think they're a good step, but they're like little toddlers. They're infants compared to what we're doing with privacy, right? So, for example, I'm not sure if this is true in your part of the world, but for example, yeah, there's a sovereignty law, right? The data from social media or e-commerce platforms cannot leave the physical boundaries of the country of India, right? And there's multiple countries that have that law. We go multiple steps ahead, right? We're like, no, 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 forget someone's servers. Like, we don't want your data to leave your device. We want you to be in full control of it. And we don't have servers, so we're not even pulling and storing that data. And so that's in kind of future protecting from a privacy and how data is used perspective. And like I mentioned earlier, because we don't have any personally identifiable information that comes into your aura, there's no liability or risk. And in fact, in many ways, even when we work with businesses, we often say, um, you get 80% of the value from 20% of the data that you're getting from users, but you have 100% of the liability because you're storing people's personal data. And if you can get the value without having that exposure, then isn't that a much better way to go for the future, both practically from a liability perspective and where regulations might go in the future? So our approach is to be, future proof, not just present compliant.
Nice. It's nice to see that you guys have thought out this far, because eventually, if the project plans to expand, this is something that should really be thought out. So, let's move on to adoption and real world use. Has any brand or organization started generating value with rainfall intelligence, or any measurable return on investment or conversion so far?
Yeah, so we're starting to roll out our first pilots now. So the answer is yes and no, in that the pilots are being designed now. So on one hand, the design does cover, delivering on this value. So people are looking at the use cases and saying, oh my God, that's awesome. That's exactly how we would do it. That's the kind of value that we're looking for. And then on the other hand, when those pilots go live, we'll have really good benchmarks of, how well it worked for the different businesses, and on the consumer side as well. And you mentioned this earlier. You're like, we have the interest of consumers at heart. We don't just have the interest of consumers. We exist for the fundamental right of the user to be able to own and control their data. That's the reason we exist. The value proposition from that to give value to the businesses and create an economic model, that comes second, right? And so our focus is there are 6 billion connected people on this planet. 2 billion are not connected yet, and we need to do a good job of making sure that they're connected in a privacy preserving, respectful way. But the reality is that we want to make sure that every person, and today, as you could be on the streets of Lagos, or you could be on the streets of Mumbai. People have smartphones, right? So everybody is part of this new world. Everyone, even if they don't have, proper homes, they do have phones, which means they are generating data, which means we all need to make sure that that value being generated by each one of them is being captured in a fair way, right? And a responsible way. And that is why Rainfall exists.
Interesting. That's a really great perspective to look at it. It drives home the core mission and vision of what you guys are bringing. Thank you so much for bringing that out. So, how do you plan to, integrate Web3 into your project? And while you try to do this, how do you bring users who really don't know much about blockchain or crypto to adopt what you guys are trying to build?
Yeah, great question. And that's, a big part of our go-to-market and our mission. Um, the Web3 world, I always like to say it's an echo chamber of recycled attention, right? Our take rate of new users in the Web3 world tends to be very, very small. People who are already converted, they're converted, and you were lucky you started with Bitcoin, then you went to Ethereum, then you went to the other layer ones, and then you got into DeFi and trading and maybe other avenues there. But because we don't have the right access to the Web2 world, where can the Web3 world go touch people where they have trust? Because the language of Web3 tends to be very exclusive, right? And and then of course the products are complicated. The friction is very high. If you need to um, work with the DeFi platform, the friction of setting up KYC, AML, etc. It's very complicated, right? And if I asked all of you the question, hey, I know you can set it up, but without you helping, can your parents set up an account? And of course, you know what the answer is. Like it's no, they would have, it's too complex. So as an example, what we're doing to the crux of your question, we've got a partnership launch called Star Aura, which is the aura of big superstars. We're starting with an NBA legend named Spencer Haywood, but eventually it'll flow over to Hollywood and Bollywood and cricket and football and English Premier League and all of the things that we're all passionate about. And the idea is that now stars can have their own authentic aura that truly belongs to them, and so that they have like full control and rights over their own aura, their own identity, which is so important in a world of like AI and deep fakes and things like that. Um, and fans can now have authentic interactions 24/7 with their favorite celebrities' AI, right? And of course, there's big revenue opportunities attached to that. But the main part of that, to your question, is that most of these fans are largely Web2 users, right? And now they will have the ability to operate in a Web3 world without the complexity because they're just using their aura. And when they need, they can earn raindrops, obviously, from their data and their activities. And when they need to now convert that, trade that, that's when they can come to the Web3 world and set up an exchange account or what have you. And so what you do is you bring them in this easier container with easier language, but you actually approach them through the people that they trust, right? And I'm sure you'll resonate with this. For us to bring more people on our journey, whether it's the Rainfall journey or the Web3 journey, you need to meet them where they are, and you need to provide them sort of a low friction but trusted mechanism and container to come in, right? And that's our focus as Rainfall, and I think we're uniquely positioned to achieve that in the Web3 world, bringing Web2 users in.
Interesting. So let's move over to partnerships. Okay. So what kind of partnerships are you guys planning to have? Are there partnerships with AI model providers or decentralized compute networks? I think I saw the Ether partnerships. I really don't know how to pronounce the company. So could you walk
Aether,
us
yeah.
through that? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We look at partnerships in four parts. We have infrastructure partnerships, like you mentioned, Aether, NodeOps, Nillion, um, Kudo. We're partnerships that are driven around infrastructure, right? Whether it's AI infrastructure, Web3 infrastructure, so on and so forth. Then we have partnerships that are driven around our star aura. You know, these are stars, but they might also be stars that manage other stars. And so those are kind of our consumer partnerships. Then we have partnerships that have to do with our going to market from an enterprise perspective as well. And so we have charter partners that we're starting to work with, the automotive space and the financial services space and the healthcare space. And so it's kind of these multiple layers of partnerships that we go out with. And then, of course, our fourth and final is partnership with communities, right? Whether they're small communities, whether they're large communities, the ability to go to those communities and say, look, here's the value proposition. Here's why your community should have self-sovereign AI. All your people should benefit from owning their own data and their own AI. And it's with those communities, again, baked in trust that we can, go out. So even what we're doing right now, with your community, even though it's over just an AMA, we believe that this is the start of, all going on this mission together. So I encourage everyone in this community on this call, and then you can also post it on the community in your channel. Go to www.rainfall.one /beta, BETA. And when you go to that URL, you'll see a lovely place for you to sign up for your aura. You can become part of our Telegram community. That's where you'll see a lot of incentives, airdrops, and benefits. You can become through that. You can follow us on X as well. We announce a lot of new partnerships and incentive programs on X as well. So go ahead, follow us, become part of the early community, get all of the early benefits. And, for those who want to become ambassadors as well, so that you can champion data privacy, you can champion data as a fundamental human right, and bring your friends and other communities in. This is how we achieve the mission collectively. And I always say, yes, rainfall is important, and yes, obviously we all care about the success of rainfall. But at the end of the day, all of us on the rainfall team and in the rainfall ecosystem care even deeper about the mission, the purpose. If we can give data sovereignty, AI self-sovereignty, privacy, and with that an income to billions of people around the world, then we will all have succeeded. This has to be the greater mission, not just the mission of Rainfall. So please, again, I reiterate www.rainfall.one, /beta, BETA, and then please go sign up and become part of the community, and let's all benefit and amplify the big mission.
Okay. Nice. Thank you so much for walking us through that. So finally, let's look at the roadmap. What is the next major milestone that you guys are working on, and what futures do you guys are you guys looking on building on the long run?
Yeah, so again, to reinforce that over the next 5 years, we want to make sure everyone has their own self-sovereign AI, right? So that's the broad mission. Um, the things that are coming up, within the next couple of months, we'll have our TGE token will be listed. More community members will start participating. By the end of the first quarter, we'll have our initial apps, both Android as well as Apple, iOS. Um, Over 2026, we'll start rolling out some of our enterprise pilots. By the second half of 2026, we'll start rolling out our initial star auras. And then all of that will just start scaling for 27 and 28. So we're really excited about some of these key benchmarks, deliverables on our roadmap. But at the end of the day, it's about creating as much community as possible over this next 24-month period.
Nice. And one more thing that I wanted to ask was about the community. How you guys building a very strong community, and are there other roles community members can play beyond being token holders? Like, can they build, audit, or extend models? And are you guys sometimes leaving an open field for them to join in on, in terms of giving feedback about what you guys are building?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're now very focused on building community, organic um, as well as through our different partnerships. And, early community members will get access to, all of the incentive programs. So yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of benefit for new members to come and become part of the community. And then equally, members can start playing roles of amplifiers, ambassadors, and get incentives and earn tokens as a byproduct of doing that.
All right, thank you so much. So I think that's all the question from my end. Guys, if you have some questions, kindly raise your hand so you can ask your questions. I see a lot of questions coming in the comment section already. I'll pick a few from there. But before I start calling some some of our community members to ask questions, is there anything you'd like to mention that wasn't mentioned throughout our discussion?
No, this is great. Your questions have been great. We've covered a lot of areas. I know that Mario said he would post the link as well. So, again, it's just Rainfall.one/beta. I encourage everyone to join, sign up. Definitely follow us on Twitter. And if any of what we have discussed today resonates, absolutely, talk about it, ask the questions in the Telegram channel, ask the questions on Twitter as well, and we'll do our best to respond and engage in that dialogue as well.
Okay, nice. So, about Abwa Jariu, you can ask the question, mate. Abwa Jariu, you have been unmuted. Kindly unmute to ask a question.
Hi, Moonshine. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Okay, I
Yeah,
think that's
so
Anderson speaking. Okay, Anderson, you can just go
yes.
ahead with the question while we wait for Abwa.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so my question is kind of geared towards the success and progression of your projects. Because as a project owner, one thing you're on the lookout for is success and progress of whatever projects you've got going on. And we could also say the same of potential investors. they want progress and success with what they are investing in. So which leads to my question: is there any measurable indicators early supporters could use to, objectively evaluate if Rainfall is going to succeed or make progression over the next 6 to 12 months? If there is any, could you please share with us?
Yeah, if I understand your question right, like what would be the parameters or indicators or signals that would show progress of the project, right? And progress of the
Correct.
mission. And so basically, it's literally every day more people are signing up, more people are starting to, get on the wait list, for example, of the Star Aura. People are starting to sign up and, start building their own auras. Then, like I was saying with the roadmap, we will have, pilots with our enterprise partners. We'll have the initial star aura available. We'll have new stars coming and joining in. Every month we'll have an announcement of a new big star that is joined in. With that will come, obviously a lot of attention, a lot of new users. These are all kind of very, very tangible reference points. Once people start, the first 60 days is entirely free for people with their aura. Then after that they start subscribing if they just want the base aura, or if they want all of the advanced, the Guardian as well as the deep insights. And then that's a slightly more premium service. So then you start seeing subscription revenue as well. And so I know your question was not just from a user perspective, it was also from an investor perspective. And so those are things that, you have to look for in a project, right? It's across the board, the listing, the health of the token, the economics, users being added, business attention, of course, the stars coming in, and then transitioning later in 2026 to, subscription revenue coming in as well. So all of these things will become signals, if you may, of the quantitative progress of Rainfall, not just the qualitative progress, which of course gets very exciting around, people finding the joys of self-sovereign AI.
Okay, that's great. It's good to see that you have more users joining in. I can say for sure that that's like a great sign that our project is, having success. So I would also love to join in and see how this one goes. Thank you.
Yeah, please do. And like I mentioned before, just go to rainfall.one/beta and just sign up and join into the community, and then you're on the journey as well. And we look forward to that.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anderson, for that question. So, Amit, while the community member asks the question, you could just try to, pick out about two that you find more interesting to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
them out and pick them as, the most interesting or appealing question of today's AMA. So, the
Sure.
next, okay, I muted Abua Jaril before. Are you now on the mic to ask the question?
Yeah, I'm there. Thank you for muting me.
You can ask the question, mate.
I don't think we can hear Abua, yeah?
Yeah, I think we've given him enough chances. So thank you so much, Abua, for joining. Let's see, Jordan, Jody, you can ask the question, mate.
Can you guys hear me?
We can, Jordan. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. So it's been a great presentation so far. But your project is going to be a kind of like a tricky one for you guys, in terms of like the amount of people that are going to be using your project, because it's really practical for people that are going to be coming in. So my question is going to be, what are the constraints, what are the technical difficulties that you guys are going to be facing, and how are you guys fixing to solve that, when it comes to scaling in millions of users, talking about the scalability and making sure that the whole platform, works well for everyone.
Yeah, there's two parts to that, right? So I think you're referencing the infrastructure part of that and how we scale the infrastructure as, it goes from, early thousands of users to hundreds of millions of users, right? And our architecture is designed for that eventual scale. It's a really unique decentralized architecture, so we can on-demand spool decentralized compute. From a storage perspective, we have less of a challenge because again, we're not storing core data, right? It's just the aura, which is your model. And so by design, our ability to add on compute, especially decentralized compute, and allow people to actually start earning from providing into that decentralized compute is really exciting, right? Because now even there people can make an income. But what's interesting in that question is a part that perhaps you had not intended, but or maybe you did, but that's the part of scaling on the consumer side with their devices. So the way that our AI has been authored, our ability to work on low footprint devices is really, really unique. And so it's not limited just to your phone. It could be other wearables. It could be your car. It could be your laptop. It could be, whatever else. And, suddenly what that opens up is more places where context can come in, right? To make your aura even richer. And at the same time, we are constantly navigating staying compliant with the restrictions or the permissions of the app stores when you work with the phone. And so, it's always a little bit of a dance that you have to do. And that's something that we constantly innovate around. So it's both sides that we look at in terms of, achieving the eventual scale because, we are designed for the next billion users, not million or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, right? So that's a core part of how we've architected Rainfall.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Amit, for the answer. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much again, Moonshine, for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jordan, Jody. Thank you so much for that question. So let's have Solo. Solo, you can ask the question, me. Solo, you have to
All right.
unmute your mic, Saxon.
All right. Thank you very much, Moonshine, for having me on the VC. And it's been an amazing AMA. And I really want to thank the CEO for the simplicity and the clarity of thoughts shared on your visionary project. However, I have a couple of questions that I really like to ask you and the team. And at your initial introduction, I can't remember hearing you introducing your team that you work with because again, great project driven by great team behind it. Of course, for you to come up with such a project like this, I know there are things behind it. My question will be that beyond direct financial monetization, which you are trying to give to people globally, as touching um, global income for self suffering AI. So, how does Rainfall quantify the return on the time and attention a user invests in managing and consenting to data usage, right? And what metrics prove the return on investment outweigh the simplicity of existing single sign on all data sharing services. I believe you do have an understanding of what I'm trying to ask. Then I would like to have this my question, which is the bad bit of it. Again, beyond everything you amazing, the big goal here is to get the institution investors into this project. So for me personally, I don't just only want to be a user making money from my data privacy. However, I want to ensure so that I come in, invest, and make a good return on my investment. So, what framework do you have in bringing institutional investors like BlackRock out there to get involved in your project? Because that's where the big shot really lies. Thank you.
Wow, that's an that's a great question. It's an intense question because it's got so many parts to it. But well done, Solo. Very, very good. Let me try and unpack that for you in the limited time that we have. We actually do already have some high-profile investors already in Rainfall. It's not BlackRock and it's not JP Morgan yet, but a big part of Rainfall is this unique intellectual property and the intersection of AI and privacy and as you know, AI is such a hot space and we now transition from the era of the foundational models to what comes next. Applied AI, great examples of unique AI that solve for real world challenges, and you can see how Rainfall fits into that. So we will always remain attractive over a period of time, even to the traditional institutional class investors that might prefer to come in from an equity perspective over a token perspective. And then, of course, for our kind of community where you want to have earlier liquidity, the token becomes a more interesting instrument. To your point of contributing more than just being a user, we absolutely want you to be a user. We want you to have all of the benefits. So again, Rainfall.one/beta, please do sign up. But we're going to be running a couple of launchpad sales in the next couple of weeks before the TGE, and it's precisely to bring community members who also want to come in and invest and have a return from their investment and not just be users in addition to. And so again, announcements of those community sales with the discount will be posted in our Telegram channel as soon as we have final dates. So I know I've said this 4 times already, and I'm going to say it the 5th time. Please go sign up, join the Telegram community, because that's where you'll get the announcement of being able to pre-register, for things like the discounted launchpad sale. So great question. Again, at the end of the day, Rainfall's token is a deeply integrated demand side token. It's not just a speculative token. And so we believe that it will inure more solid value, both in the short term and the long term. And then because the intellectual property is so unique, and as the business grows, we will absolutely become more attractive to the institutional class investors, which we have a big network of. And I think you touched on that very briefly initially around the team. And I mentioned this when I first started, the team, we've all spent between 25 and 28 years in the AI, industry broadly or software in general, with most of us having between 25 to 27 years of Silicon Valley experience. And so it's a very competent team with a lot of experience. And as we grow now, as we do some of our funding rounds as well, as we do the liquidity with the TGE, we will be expanding our teams very aggressively. And at the end of the day, we don't just look for the best technical talent or the best marketing talent. We look deeply for purpose and vision alignment. For those who truly believe that data is a fundamental human right, and there's a scalable, sustainable pathway for people to be able to have agency and control and earn an income from it, those are the people that will then bring their technical and their marketing and their growth skills to Rainfall, because they will be mission aligned people joining the Rainfall team. Hopefully that answers your question. I know that you asked 3 things and hopefully I got to all of them.
Absolutely, my friend. You did a great attempt on the questions. And for me, I think I'm really satisfied with the answer you gave. Thank you very much for helping us all around the world, for giving us the suffering AI. I guess you are from India, right? That sounds much like an Indian national. But however, thank you, my friend, for helping us to give income generation to our data usage. Thank you.
Thank you, Salo. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you so much for all the questions. I know I muted, I think Benova on the mic, but I'm so sorry I had to mute you back because time is fast spent and we have to round off this AMA. So thank you all so much for the questions that's come through. I really apologize for those I was not able to get through to, and even the questions on the comments. But what you guys can do is to follow their socials, Telegram and on X. And if your questions were not attended to or you didn't get the answers you wanted, you can definitely reach out to the team on their socials, and I'm sure that your questions to be attended to. With that, before I close down the VC, Amit, is there any final concluding statements you'd like to give?
Yeah, well, thank you for you, Moonshine, doing a really great job of hosting and conducting the AMA. Professional, well done. I'm very impressed. The community, I'm very grateful. Thank you for being there. Questions were great. I will let you know, Moonshine, my favorite question, but I just want everyone to know the questions were great. Well done. And again, join our Telegram community if you have questions that you feel were unanswered, or because of limited time you couldn't get to. Just ask them there, and we will absolutely respond to you, and then absolutely make you early ambassadors as we start to amplify both the incentives and this big vision. So this is time well spent for me. I hope it was time well spent for you. And let's all go on this journey together. So, with much gratitude, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amit. It was really a great section with you because you gave insight to what you guys are trying to build. You tried to break down every single details for I might not really be a techie person, but with the way you used simple illustration and examples to drive home the point of how you guys are integrating your features and even in the real world, it really made it easier for me, and I'm sure for others too who are not really into blockchain and all of that, to understand what your project is about. So I just really want to appreciate that. And one more thing that I find noteworthy was, I think I mentioned you having the interest of users of your platform at heart, and you said it is not just about having them their interest at heart. It is the fact that the reason why your platform or your project exists is for these users, is to get to reach their needs. Like, that is you guys' core vision and mission. So it's something I really appreciate you for saying, because it's hard to see project owners or team who are not just after financial benefits. So I just want to say big kudos to your team, and you guys should keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words, and look forward to staying in touch.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Have a good evening there.
Yeah, bye.